Hey guys, welcome to Poke Fic Mon. So in today's video we are gonna see, what if Ash and Cynthia uncovered Galar's dark secret? Part 3, Final. Before starting, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in Pokemon fanfictions. Now without wasting any more time, let's dive in. The morning sun cast a golden hue over Galar's rolling hills as Ash and Cynthia stood on the balcony of Wyndon's Pokemon Center, the city bustling with early risers and trainers eager for a new day of adventures. The tranquility was deceptive, masking the undercurrent of urgency and tension that had pervaded their lives since receiving the reports of renewed Eternatus energy disturbances. Ash leaned on the railing, gazing out over the city, his thoughts racing. The energy spikes we've been tracking, they're happening more frequently. It's like the Eclipse Syndicate never really went away, he said, his voice tinged with frustration. Cynthia, standing beside him, nodded thoughtfully. It's unsettling. They've always been a shadowy organization, but this level of coordination suggests they've regrouped and are more determined than ever. We need to find out what they're planning and stop them before they cause any more harm. Their peaceful moment was interrupted by the buzzing of Ash's Rotom phone. It was Leon, his voice urgent. Ash, Cynthia, we've got another spike. This one's near Hammerlock again. It's bigger than the last one. Got it, Leon. We're on our way, Ash replied, his determination rekindled. As they hurried through Wyndon's streets to catch the next train to Hammerlock, Ash and Cynthia strategized. Leon's right. This isn't just a series of isolated incidents, Cynthia said, her tone serious. The Syndicate must have discovered a way to manipulate Eternatus energy on a larger scale. We need to find their base of operations. Ash nodded. Agreed. We'll start by re-examining Hammerlock. Maybe we missed something in the ruins beneath the stadium. Whatever they're planning, it's connected to those sites. The train ride to Hammerlock was a mix of silence and hurried conversations as they reviewed their previous encounters with the Syndicate. The rhythmic clattering of the train wheels seemed to echo the urgency of their mission. They arrived at Hammerlock's grand station, its towering architecture a reminder of the city's rich history and the battles that had taken place beneath its surface. Leon, Sonia, and Professor Magnolia met them at the station. We've been monitoring the energy spikes, Sonia explained, leading them through the bustling streets towards the ruins. They're getting stronger and more frequent. We've identified several potential hotspots, but Hammerlock seems to be the epicenter. Leon's face was grim. We've got to get down there and find out what's causing these spikes. If the Syndicate's involved, we need to shut them down before they do something irreversible. Together, they descended into the labyrinthine passages beneath Hammerlock Stadium, their footsteps echoing off the ancient stone walls. The atmosphere was heavy with the weight of the past and the sense of imminent danger. The energy readings grew stronger as they approached the central chamber, its towering obelisk pulsating with an eerie light. Professor Magnolia and Sonia set up their equipment, analyzing the energy fluctuations. The readings are off the charts, Magnolia said, adjusting her instruments. This isn't just residual energy. It's being actively manipulated. Ash and Cynthia exchanged a look. The Syndicate must have found a way to tap into the obelisk's power, Cynthia said, her brow furrowed. We need to find out how they're doing it and stop them. Their search led them to a hidden passage behind the obelisk, a narrow tunnel that seemed to pulse with the same eerie light. This wasn't here before, Ash said, examining the walls. It looks like it's been recently excavated. Cynthia nodded, her eyes narrowing. The Syndicate must have discovered it and used it to access the obelisk's power. We need to follow this tunnel and find out where it leads. The tunnel twisted and turned, its walls lined with ancient carvings and symbols that seemed to pulse with a faint, otherworldly glow. As they ventured deeper, the energy readings grew stronger, the air thick with tension and anticipation. They emerged into a cavernous chamber, its walls covered in intricate murals depicting scenes of ancient battles and celestial events. At the center of the chamber stood a massive crystalline structure, its surface etched with runes that glowed with a pulsating light. The structure seemed to resonate with the same energy as the obelisk, its presence both awe-inspiring and unsettling. This must be the source of the energy spikes, Cynthia said, her voice a mix of awe and determination. The Syndicate must be using this structure to amplify the obelisk's power. Their examination of the structure revealed a series of interconnected mechanisms, similar to those they had encountered in the obelisk. It's like a giant amplifier, Ash said, his eyes wide. The Syndicate must be using it to control and manipulate the energy. Leon's face was set in a grim expression. We need to shut this thing down. If they're using it to manipulate Eternatus energy, they could destabilize the entire region. Sonia nodded. We'll need to coordinate our efforts and strike at the Syndicate's operations simultaneously. We can't let them get away with this. As they formulated their plan, Ash and Cynthia found a moment alone in the cavern, the flickering light casting their faces in shadow. This is bigger than anything we've faced before, Ash said, his voice soft. But I know we can do it. We've come too far to let them win now. Cynthia placed a hand on his arm, her eyes filled with a mix of determination and affection. We've faced impossible odds before and come out stronger. We'll do it again, together. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the tension of their mission was forgotten as they shared a quiet, intimate moment. The weight of their journey and the bond they had forged through their trials and triumphs was palpable, their connection deepening with each passing challenge. The arrival of their allies broke the spell, and they turned to face the task at hand. We've got a lot of work to do, Cynthia said, her voice resolute. Let's get to it. Their plan involved splitting into teams to cover more ground and protect multiple sites simultaneously. Ash, Cynthia, and Leon would lead the main team to confront the Syndicate's operations in Hammerlock, while Sonia and Professor Magnolia coordinated efforts with other teams across the region. They contacted their allies in other regions, requesting their assistance and preparing for a coordinated assault on the Syndicate's bases of operation. The next few days were a whirlwind of preparation and strategy. Ash and Cynthia worked closely with their allies, refining their plans and ensuring everyone was ready for the upcoming battle. They revisited key locations from their previous adventures, gathering information and artifacts that could aid them in their fight against the Syndicate. One evening, as they prepared for the final confrontation, Ash and Cynthia found a quiet moment in the Pokémon Center's garden. The stars glittered overhead, and the cool night air was a welcome respite from the intensity of their preparations. We're about to face our biggest challenge yet, Ash said, his voice low. But no matter what happens, I'm glad we're facing it together. Cynthia smiled, her eyes soft. I couldn't imagine doing this with anyone else. You've always been there, Ash, through every trial and triumph. We've grown so much together, and I know we'll get through this too. Ash took her hand, their fingers intertwining. We've come a long way, haven't we? From our first battles to now, standing on the brink of something huge. But no matter what, I wouldn't change a thing. Cynthia's gaze was filled with warmth and affection. Neither would I. We've faced so much together, and it's only made us stronger. Whatever happens tomorrow, we'll face it head-on, together. Their moment was interrupted by Leon's arrival, his expression serious. It's time. We've received word that the Syndicate is moving to activate their devices. We need to act now. Ash and Cynthia shared one last look, their resolve solidified by their bond. Let's do this, Ash said, his voice filled with determination. The next morning, their teams gathered at the entrance to the underground passages, their expressions a mix of determination and anticipation. We've got one shot at this, Leon said, his voice steady. Let's make it count. As they descended into the tunnels, the atmosphere was charged with tension and focus. The echoes of their footsteps mingled with the distant hum of energy, the ancient stone walls seeming to pulse with anticipation. They reached the central chamber, where the crystalline structure loomed, its surface shimmering with power. The Syndicate's operatives were already there, their faces twisted with determination and desperation. You're too late, their leader snarled, his voice echoing through the chamber. The power of Eternatus will be ours, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. Ash and Cynthia stepped forward, their Pokémon at their sides. We've stopped you before, and we'll do it again, Ash said, his voice filled with conviction. We won't let you misuse this power. Cynthia's eyes were cold as she addressed the Syndicate. You've caused enough harm. It's time for you to face the consequences of your actions. The battle that ensued was fierce and relentless. Pokémon clashed with blinding speed and power, their trainers directing them with precision and determination. The chamber seemed to tremble with the force of their attacks, the crystalline structure at the chamber's center pulsating ominously as the conflict raged around it. Ash and Cynthia moved with practiced coordination, their bond as trainers and friends manifesting in every command and counter as they faced off against the Syndicate's operatives. Ash called out to Pikachu. Thunderbolt, now, he shouted, and Pikachu's electricity arced through the air, slamming into the Syndicate's Houndoom. The dark Pokemon snarled, barely holding its ground as the energy crackled around it. Beside him, Cynthia was locked in battle with a Syndicate commander's Hydreigon. Garchomp, use Dragon Claw, she commanded, and Garchomp's claws glowed with fierce energy as it lunged forward, clashing with Hydreigon in a whirlwind of scales and fury. As the battle intensified, Ash and Cynthia's Pokemon fought with a unity and ferocity that reflected their trainer's determination. The Syndicate's operatives, though skilled, struggled to keep up with the sheer power and coordination of Ash and Cynthia's team. However, the crystalline structure began to emit a powerful glow, its energy levels spiking as the battle continued. "We need to disrupt their connection to the structure," Cynthia called out, her eyes fixed on the pulsating crystal. "If they keep drawing power from it, they'll overwhelm us." Ash nodded, his eyes narrowing in determination. "Pikachu, we need to take out that structure, aim for the base with Iron Tail." Pikachu's tail gleamed metallic as it leapt towards the crystalline structure, striking it with all its might. The impact sent shockwaves through the chamber, causing the structure to flicker and destabilize. The Syndicate's leader, seeing their plan unravel, snarled in frustration. "You fools! You don't understand the power you're meddling with." Cynthia's Garchomp roared, unleashing a powerful earthquake that further destabilized the structure. "It's you who doesn't understand," Cynthia retorted, her voice cold. "Power isn't something to be taken or controlled recklessly. It's a responsibility." The Syndicate's operatives faltered as the crystalline structure began to crack and emit a high-pitched whine. "No. The energy. It's becoming unstable," one of them shouted, panic lacing their voice. As the structure's glow intensified, Ash and Cynthia exchanged a determined look. "We need to finish this now," Ash called out. "Everyone, focus your attacks on the structure." Their Pokemon responded with a coordinated barrage of attacks. Pikachu's Thunderbolt, Garchomp's Dragon Claw, Lucario's Aura Sphere, and Togekiss's Air Slash all converged on the crystalline structure. The combined force of their attacks shattered the structure, sending shards of crystal flying through the air and causing a massive energy surge that rippled through the chamber. The Syndicate's leader screamed in fury as the structure crumbled. "You've ruined everything. You don't understand what you've done." Ash stepped forward, his eyes blazing with resolve. "No. You're the ones who don't understand. Power without responsibility is just destruction. We won't let you hurt anyone else." Cynthia's voice was equally firm. "It's over. Your plans are finished. Surrender now, and maybe you can start to make amends for the damage you've caused." With the crystalline structure destroyed and their plans in ruins, the Syndicate's operatives began to retreat, their expressions a mix of fear and frustration. The energy readings in the chamber began to stabilize, the ominous glow fading as the crystalline structure's power dissipated. As the last of the Syndicate's operatives fled, Ash and Cynthia turned to their allies, who had been fighting their own battles throughout the chamber. Leon, his face flushed with exertion but triumphant, grinned at them. "We did it, we actually did it." Sonia, who had been coordinating efforts with Professor Magnolia, nodded. "The energy readings are stabilizing. We've neutralized the immediate threat." Professor Magnolia approached, her expression a mix of relief and concern. "We'll need to monitor the affected sites and make sure there are no lingering effects, but for now, it looks like we've averted the worst of the crisis." Ash let out a deep breath, feeling the weight of the battle lift from his shoulders. He turned to Cynthia, a smile breaking across his face. "We really did it. We stopped them." Cynthia's eyes softened as she met his gaze. "We did, and we did it together." Their victory was met with cheers and congratulations from their allies, the tension and urgency of the past days melting away in a wave of relief and camaraderie. As the group made their way back to the surface, the mood was jubilant, the air filled with the excited chatter of trainers recounting their battles and sharing their triumphs. That evening, as the city of Hammerlock celebrated their victory, Ash and Cynthia found a quiet moment on the balcony of the Pokemon Center. The city lights twinkled below them, and the sky was a deep, velvety blue dotted with stars. "We've been through a lot these past few days," Ash said, his voice thoughtful. "But standing here now, it feels like we've come full circle." Cynthia nodded, her eyes reflecting the night sky. "It's been a long journey, but we've grown so much. We've faced challenges and made it through stronger, together." Ash turned to face her, his expression earnest. "Cynthia, I know we've been focused on our mission, but I'm really glad we've had this time together. I've learned so much from you, and I've realized just how much you mean to me." Cynthia's gaze softened, her heart warming at his words. "Ash, you've always had a way of seeing the best in people and bringing out their strengths. You've taught me just as much, and I'm grateful for every moment we've shared." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them and the bond they had forged through their trials and triumphs. Ash took a step closer, his hand finding hers. "I don't know what the future holds, but I know I want you to be a part of it. Whatever challenges come our way, I want to face them together." Cynthia's heart skipped a beat, her smile tender. "I feel the same way, Ash. We've faced so much already, and I know we can handle whatever comes next, together." The distance between them closed as they leaned in, their lips meeting in a gentle, tender kiss. The moment was a culmination of their journey, a promise of the future they would face together. The night sky above seemed to sparkle a little brighter, the stars bearing witness to the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. As they pulled back, their faces lit by the soft glow of the city lights, Ash and Cynthia shared a smile, their hands still intertwined. "Here's to whatever comes next," Ash said, his voice filled with hope and determination. Cynthia squeezed his hand gently, and to facing it together. With the syndicate's threat neutralized and their bond stronger than ever, Ash and Cynthia looked forward to the challenges and adventures that awaited them. Their journey was far from over, but they knew that, whatever the future held, they would face it side by side. The night was filled with celebration and joy as the city of Hammerlock honored the heroes who had protected their world from the brink of chaos. As the festivities continued, Ash and Cynthia stood together on the balcony, their hearts light and their spirits lifted by the knowledge that they had not only saved their world but had also found something truly special in each other. The celebrations in Hammerlock lingered in the air, a heady mix of relief, joy, and camaraderie. As dawn broke over the city, painting the sky with hues of gold and pink, Ash and Cynthia found themselves standing on the balcony of the Pokémon Center, watching the world slowly wake up after a night of victory and revelry. The horizon stretched out before them, a promise of new beginnings and the unknown challenges that awaited. Ash glanced sideways at Cynthia, his heart swelling with a complex blend of emotions. The previous night's kiss had been a pivotal moment, a culmination of their shared journey and the unspoken feelings that had grown between them. "Did you sleep at all?" Ash asked, breaking the comfortable silence between them. His voice was soft, tinged with a sense of wonder at the night they had just experienced. Cynthia shook her head, a gentle smile playing on her lips. "Not much. There was too much to think about, too many emotions to process. But in a good way." Ash nodded, understanding completely. "Yeah, me too. I kept thinking about everything we've been through, everything that's brought us to this point." Cynthia turned to face him, her eyes reflecting the morning light. "We've come a long way, haven't we? From battling the syndicate to discovering ancient mysteries. It feels like we've grown so much, not just as trainers, but as people." Ash reached out, taking her hand in his. "And we've done it together. I wouldn't have wanted to face any of it without you." Their moment was interrupted by the sound of footsteps approaching. Leon, looking somewhat tired but triumphant, joined them on the balcony. "Good morning, you two. I thought I'd find you here. We've got a debriefing in an hour to discuss our next steps." Ash and Cynthia exchanged a look, their expressions shifting from the personal to the practical. "Right," Ash said, giving Cynthia's hand a reassuring squeeze before letting go. "We'll be ready." The debriefing was held in a conference room at the Hammerlock Stadium, the atmosphere charged with a mix of professional determination and the lingering excitement of their victory. Trainers, researchers, and regional leaders gathered around a large table, maps and data spread out before them. Leon took the lead, his voice authoritative. "First off, congratulations are in order. We managed to neutralize the immediate threat posed by the Syndicate and their manipulation of Eternatus energy. But we need to stay vigilant. There are still Syndicate remnants out there, and we need to ensure they can't regroup and cause more trouble." Professor Magnolia adjusted her glasses, studying the data on the table. "We've identified several other sites where the Syndicate might try to operate. We need to secure these locations and continue monitoring any unusual energy readings." Sonia added, "I've been coordinating with other regions, and they've agreed to help us keep an eye out for any suspicious activity. We've got a lot of support, but we need to be thorough." As the meeting continued, plans were made to deploy teams to various key locations, ensuring that the syndicate couldn't exploit any remaining sources of power. Ash and Cynthia volunteered to lead one of these teams, their determination to see this mission through to the end unwavering. That afternoon, they gathered their Pokémon and set out for the wild area, one of the potential hotspots identified by Magnolia's team. The journey through the sprawling landscapes was a reminder of the beauty and unpredictability of the world they had sworn to protect. The wild area was teeming with life, Pokémon of all kinds moving freely through the grasslands and forests. As they traveled, Ash and Cynthia found moments of quiet amid the bustle of their mission. They walked side by side, their conversations drifting from strategy and logistics to more personal topics. The bond they had forged was growing deeper, their connection no longer just about the battles they fought but about the shared dreams and hopes they held for the future. That evening, as they set up camp under a sky ablaze with stars, Ash found himself reflecting on the path that had brought them here. The night was cool and clear, a gentle breeze rustling through the trees. They sat by the campfire, the flickering flames casting a warm glow over their faces. "Do you ever think about what comes next?" Ash asked, poking at the fire with a stick. "After we've dealt with the syndicate and everything, what happens then?" Cynthia looked thoughtful, her eyes reflecting the dancing flames. "I've been thinking about that a lot lately. There's so much more I want to explore, so many places I want to see. And I'd like to do it with you, if you're up for it." Ash's heart skipped a beat, a smile spreading across his face. "I'd like that too. There's still so much out there, so many adventures waiting for us. And I wouldn't want to face them with anyone else." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden rustling in the bushes. They sprang to their feet, their Pokémon alert and ready. From the shadows emerged a figure clad in the distinctive uniform of the Eclipse Syndicate. "You should have stayed in your cities," the operative sneered. "The wild area belongs to us now." Cynthia's eyes narrowed, her voice cold. "Not for long. Garchomp, Dragonclaw." Garchomp surged forward, claws glowing as it struck at the Syndicate operative's scissor. The clash was swift and brutal, a testament to the skills and determination of both trainers. Ash joined in, directing Pikachu with a series of rapid commands that sent bolts of electricity crackling through the air. The Syndicate operative fought with a desperate ferocity, but it was clear they were no match for the combined might of Ash and Cynthia's team. The battle ended with the operative's Pokémon retreating, battered and defeated. "You may have won this time," the operative spat, clutching a wounded arm. "But we'll be back. We'll always be back." As the operative disappeared into the shadows, Ash and Cynthia exchanged a look of grim satisfaction. "They're getting desperate," Ash said, watching the spot where the operative had vanished. "That means we're making progress." Cynthia nodded, her expression resolute. "We need to keep the pressure on. If we can disrupt their operations here, we can weaken their entire network." The next day, they continued their patrol of the wild area, their eyes and ears attuned to any signs of syndicate activity. The landscape was vast and varied, each new area presenting its own challenges and opportunities. They encountered more syndicate operatives, each battle a test of their skills and determination. One afternoon, as they navigated the dense forests of the wild area, they stumbled upon an old, overgrown shrine. The ancient structure was hidden among the trees, its stone walls covered in moss and vines. "This must be one of the places the syndicate is trying to tap into," Cynthia said, examining the carvings on the shrine's walls. "These symbols, they're similar to the ones we saw in Hammerlock." Ash nodded, his eyes scanning the area for any signs of syndicate presence. "We need to secure this place. If they're using it to channel energy, we can't let them succeed." They set about investigating the shrine, uncovering a network of ancient mechanisms similar to those they had seen before. As they worked, they found moments to talk, their conversations flowing naturally from the practical to the personal. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day, their shared experiences forging a connection that was as deep as it was unspoken. That evening, as they sat by the campfire once again, Ash found himself thinking about the future. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice thoughtful, "about what we'll do after this is all over. I know we've talked about it before, but I want to make sure we're on the same page." Cynthia looked up from the fire, her eyes softening. "What do you mean?" Ash took a deep breath, his heart racing. "I mean, I want to be with you, Cynthia. Not just as a partner in battles, but in everything. I don't want this to end when we've defeated the syndicate. I want us to keep going, together." Cynthia's expression was a mix of surprise and affection, Ash, I feel the same way. I've never met anyone like you. You've changed my life in ways I can't even begin to describe. And I want to keep exploring those changes, with you. Ash's heart swelled with emotion, and before he could second-guess himself, he leaned in, closing the distance between them. Their kiss was soft and tender, a promise of the future they would face together. The world around them seemed to fade away, leaving only the warmth of their connection and the certainty that whatever came next, they would face it as one. As they pulled back, their faces lit by the glow of the fire, Ash and Cynthia shared a smile. "Here's to the future," Ash said, his voice filled with hope and determination. Cynthia nodded, her eyes shining, and to facing it together. The next morning, they received a message from Leon. "We've located another syndicate base. It's hidden deep in the wild area, near Lake Axewell. We need you to head there and take it down." Ash and Cynthia didn't hesitate. Gathering their Pokémon, they set out for Lake Axewell, their resolve strengthened by their shared mission and their growing bond. The journey through the wild area was a testament to their skills and determination. Each battle in the journey through the wild area was a testament to their skills and determination. Each battle and challenge forging their bond even stronger. As they approached Lake Axewell, the terrain grew more rugged, the landscape a wild tangle of cliffs, forests, and hidden paths. The lake itself shimmered in the distance, its waters a deep, mysterious blue under the midday sun. They moved cautiously, their eyes scanning the area for any signs of the syndicate. The base they were searching for was well hidden, its location a closely guarded secret. Ash and Cynthia worked in tandem, their Pokémon scouting ahead and reporting back with findings. Their familiarity with each other's styles and strategies made their progress smooth and efficient. As they neared the lake, Pikachu's ears twitched, picking up a distant sound. "Pika," he called, pointing towards a narrow path leading into a dense thicket. "Good job, Pikachu," Ash said, crouching down to examine the tracks. "Looks like we're on the right trail." Cynthia nodded, her eyes narrowing as she surveyed the path. "We need to stay sharp. They'll have defenses in place." They moved forward with heightened caution, the sounds of the forest mingling with the distant calls of wild Pokémon. The path twisted and turned, leading them deeper into the undergrowth. Suddenly, the trees gave way to a hidden clearing, and there, nestled against the rocky cliffs, was the syndicate's base. The structure was a blend of high-tech facilities and camouflaged defenses, nearly invisible against the natural landscape. Ash and Cynthia exchanged a determined glance. "This is it," Ash said quietly. "We need to take out their defenses and secure the base." Cynthia's eyes were sharp with focus. "We'll need to coordinate our attacks. Let's split up and hit them from different angles." Ash nodded, adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Got it. Be careful." They moved into position, their Pokémon at the ready. Ash circled around to the right, Pikachu and Lucario at his side, while Cynthia approached from the left with Garchomp and Togekiss. The syndicate guards, caught off guard by the sudden assault, scrambled to respond. "Pikachu, use Thunderbolt on the security systems," Ash commanded. Pikachu's electricity crackled through the air, slamming into the base's control panels and sending sparks flying. The lights flickered and the alarms blared, plunging the base into chaos. Meanwhile, Cynthia directed her Pokémon with precision. "Garchomp, take out the sentry turrets with Dragon Claw. Togekiss, use Air Slash to disrupt their communications." Garchomp's claws gleamed as it tore through the automated turrets, disabling the base's defenses one by one. Togekiss's Air Slash whipped through the air, severing cables and scattering the syndicate operatives who were trying to regroup. The battle intensified as more syndicate members emerged from the base, their Pokémon engaging Ash and Cynthia in a fierce clash. Ash's Lucario darted through the chaos, delivering powerful aura spheres that sent the syndicate's Pokémon reeling. "Keep it up, Lucario. We're almost through," Ash shouted, his voice barely audible over the din of battle. Cynthia's Garchomp unleashed a devastating earthquake, the ground trembling under its might. "We need to push them back. Togekiss, follow up with Dazzling Gleam." Togekiss's attack created a blinding burst of light, disorienting the syndicate's forces and giving Ash and Cynthia the opening they needed. With a final coordinated effort, they broke through the last of the defenses, forcing their way into the heart of the base. Inside, the atmosphere was tense, the halls filled with the hum of machinery and the hurried shouts of syndicate operatives. Ash and Cynthia moved quickly, their Pokémon leading the way as they navigated the maze of corridors. They encountered resistance at every turn, each battle a test of their resolve and skill. Finally, they reached the central control room, the heart of the base's operations. The Syndicate's leader, a man with a cold, calculating gaze, stood waiting for them, flanked by his most powerful Pokémon. "So, you've made it this far," he said, his voice dripping with contempt. "But this is where your journey ends." Ash stepped forward, his eyes blazing with determination. "We're not backing down. We're here to stop you and end this once and for all." Cynthia's voice was steady, her gaze unwavering. "You've caused enough harm. It's over." The leader's expression twisted into a sneer. "You're fools if you think you can stop us. We've tapped into powers beyond your understanding. Prepare to face the consequences." The battle that followed was the most intense they had faced yet. The leader's Pokémon were powerful and well-trained, their attacks relentless and precise. But Ash and Cynthia fought with a unity and determination that outmatched their foe. Their Pokémon responded with incredible strength and agility, each move a testament to the bond they shared with their trainers. Pikachu darted around the room, its thunderbolt striking with pinpoint accuracy. Lucario's aura spheres clashed with the enemy's attacks, the energy crackling through the air. Garchomp and Togekiss moved with a grace and ferocity that left the Syndicate's Pokémon struggling to keep up. As the battle reached its peak, Ash and Cynthia's combined efforts began to turn the tide. The leader's Pokémon faltered, unable to withstand the coordinated assault. "We've got them on the ropes," Ash shouted, his voice ringing with triumph. "Let's finish this." With a final, powerful attack, their Pokémon overwhelmed the leader's defenses. Pikachu's Thunderbolt, Lucario's Aura Sphere, Garchomp's Dragon Claw, and Togekiss's Air Slash converged in a brilliant display of energy, striking the leader's Pokémon and sending them crashing to the ground. The leader staggered back, his face a mask of disbelief and rage. "No, this isn't possible. We had everything planned." Cynthia stepped forward, her voice cold and resolute. "Plans or no plans, you underestimated the power of true partnership and determination. Your schemes end here." The leader glared at them, his expression a mix of fury and defeat. "This isn't over. There are others who will continue our work." Ash's eyes were hard as he met the leader's gaze. "Maybe. But we'll be there to stop them, just like we stopped you." With the leader and his base neutralized, Ash and Cynthia secured the site, ensuring that any remaining threats were contained. As the sun began to set over the wild area, they stood together, surveying the now quiet base. The sense of accomplishment and relief was palpable, the culmination of their efforts and the beginning of a new chapter. That night, they returned to their camp by the lake, the fire crackling softly in the cool evening air. The stars shone brightly above, a testament to the vast, mysterious world they had sworn to protect. Ash and Cynthia sat close together, their shoulders touching as they stared into the flames. "We did it," Ash said quietly, his voice filled with a mix of awe and satisfaction. "We really did it." Cynthia smiled, her eyes reflecting the firelight. "We did. And we did it together. I couldn't have asked for a better partner." Ash turned to her, his heart full of gratitude and affection. "Neither could I. You've been incredible, Cynthia. I couldn't have done any of this without you." Cynthia's gaze softened, her hand finding his. "And I couldn't have done it without you. You've taught me so much about strength, courage, and what it means to truly care for someone." Their fingers intertwined, a silent promise of the bond they had forged. The world around them seemed to fade into the background, leaving only the warmth of the fire and the connection between them. Ash's heart raced as he leaned in, their lips meeting in a kiss that was both tender and filled with unspoken emotion. As they pulled back, their foreheads touching, Ash's voice was a whisper. "Here's to the future, whatever it holds. As long as we're together." Cynthia's eyes shone with unshed tears, her smile radiant. "Together, always." The night passed in a blur of quiet conversation and shared moments, their hearts full of hope and the promise of the adventures yet to come. As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, Ash and Cynthia stood side by side, ready to face whatever the future held with a newfound strength and unity. The journey ahead was uncertain, but they knew that with each other, they could overcome any challenge. Their bond was a testament to the power of trust, partnership, and the unbreakable connection they had forged through every battle and trial. And as they set out once more into the world, they did so with the knowledge that together, they were unstoppable. The dawn broke gently over the wild area, casting a warm, golden light across the landscape. The previous night's victory was a heady memory, but Ash and Cynthia knew their journey was far from over. The Syndicate's remnants were still at large, and their mission to dismantle the organization continued to loom over them. They packed up their camp in silence, a comfortable routine that had developed between them. The crackle of the fire as they doused it, the rustle of sleeping bags being rolled up, the quiet conversations that flowed naturally between them. All these moments had become a part of their daily rhythm. As they set out once more, their Pokémon trotted alongside them, alert and ready for whatever lay ahead. Their destination was a remote part of the wild area, a dense forest rumored to house another Syndicate outpost. The path was rugged, the terrain challenging, but they moved with purpose. The morning air was crisp, filled with the sounds of wild Pokémon and the rustling of leaves underfoot. "Do you ever miss the simpler times?" Ash asked, his gaze fixed on the winding trail ahead. "You know, just traveling and battling, without all these world-threatening dangers?" Cynthia smiled, her eyes reflecting the dappled sunlight filtering through the trees. "Sometimes. But I also think those simpler times were preparing us for something bigger. Every battle, every challenge, it all led us here." Ash nodded, a thoughtful expression on his face. "I guess you're right. It feels like we've grown so much in such a short time." They fell into a companionable silence, each lost in their thoughts. The forest around them grew denser, the trees towering overhead, their branches weaving a canopy that blocked out much of the sky. The air was cooler here, the light dimmer, casting the forest floor in shades of green and brown. As they pushed deeper into the forest, the atmosphere grew tense. The shadows seemed to stretch longer, the sounds of the forest growing quieter as if the wildlife could sense the danger that lurked nearby. Pikachu's ears twitched, his senses alert to the slightest movement. "Stay sharp," Cynthia said softly, her eyes scanning the dense underbrush. "We're getting close." The forest suddenly opened into a small clearing, and there, nestled against a rocky outcrop, was the Syndicate's outpost. Unlike the previous bases, this one was less technologically advanced, blending more seamlessly with the natural surroundings. It looked almost like an abandoned ruin, with vines creeping over ancient stone walls and moss covering the ground. Ash crouched down, peering through the foliage. "It looks deserted, but we know better than to trust appearances." Cynthia nodded, her gaze focused on the outpost. "There could be traps or hidden guards. We need to be careful." They approached the outpost cautiously, their Pokémon fanning out to scout the perimeter. The quiet was unsettling, the lack of movement around the outpost giving it an eerie, abandoned feel. Ash and Cynthia exchanged a look, their expressions tense but determined. "Let's split up and search the area," Ash suggested. "We'll cover more ground that way." Cynthia agreed, and they moved in separate directions, keeping in constant communication through their Pokégear. As Ash circled the outpost, he noticed several concealed entrances hidden among the vines and foliage. He approached one of the openings, peering inside to see a narrow, dark passageway leading underground. "Cynthia, I've found an entrance," Ash said quietly into his Pokégear. "It looks like it leads to an underground chamber." "I'm heading your way," Cynthia replied. "Be careful." Ash waited, his pulse quickening as he considered what might lie beyond the passageway. Cynthia arrived moments later, her Garchomp by her side. Together, they entered the passage, their footsteps echoing softly in the confined space. The passage was narrow and dark, the air cool and damp. They moved carefully, their eyes adjusting to the dim light. The walls were lined with ancient carvings, depicting scenes of Pokémon and humans in various poses. It was clear that this place had a history, one that the Syndicate had likely exploited for their own ends. As they reached the end of the passage, it opened into a large underground chamber. The chamber was vast, with high ceilings and walls covered in more intricate carvings. In the center of the room stood a massive stone altar, surrounded by what looked like ancient machinery. "This must be what they're after," Cynthia said, her voice echoing in the chamber. "This altar, it's some kind of ancient device. The Syndicate must be trying to harness its power." Ash approached the altar, his eyes wide with curiosity. "It's amazing. But how does it work?" Before Cynthia could respond, a voice echoed through the chamber. "So, you found it. Impressive." They turned to see a figure emerging from the shadows. It was the Syndicate's leader, flanked by several operatives and their Pokémon. His expression was a mixture of amusement and disdain. "You've been a thorn in our side for too long," the leader said, his eyes cold. "But this ends now. We will harness the power of this altar and reshape the world as we see fit." Ash's gaze hardened, his fists clenching. "Not if we stop you first. We've come too far to let you succeed." The leader laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the chamber. "You're welcome to try. But you're outnumbered and outmatched." Cynthia's eyes narrowed, her voice firm. "We've faced worse odds and come out on top. This is no different." The battle erupted with a fierce intensity, the chamber filling with the sounds of clashing Pokémon and crackling energy. Pikachu leapt into action, his thunderbolt striking the Syndicate's Pokémon with unerring accuracy. Lucario moved with fluid grace, its aura spheres creating a dazzling display of power. Cynthia's Garchomp roared, its dragon claw slicing through the air as it engaged the Syndicate's most powerful Pokémon. Togekiss soared overhead, its air slash cutting through the opposition with precision. The leader watched the battle with a calculating gaze, his Pokémon fighting with ruthless efficiency. But Ash and Cynthia's coordination and determination proved to be a formidable force. They fought with a unity and strength that outmatched the Syndicate's forces, their bond driving them forward. As the battle raged on, Ash and Cynthia's Pokémon began to gain the upper hand. The Syndicate's operatives were pushed back, their Pokémon falling one by one under the relentless assault. The leader's expression grew more desperate as he realized his forces were being overwhelmed. In a final, desperate move, the leader activated the ancient machinery surrounding the altar. The ground trembled, and the air crackled with energy as the altar began to glow. "You may have won this battle," the leader snarled, "but you won't leave here alive." Ash and Cynthia exchanged a determined look. "We need to shut this down," Ash said urgently. "Whatever he's trying to do, we can't let it happen." They moved quickly, their Pokémon covering them as they approached the altar. The energy surging through the machinery was wild and unpredictable, the air around them humming with raw power. Cynthia examined the controls, her fingers moving rapidly over the ancient mechanisms. "I think I've got it," she said, her voice tense. "There's a way to disable it, but we need to be precise. One wrong move and we could trigger a catastrophe." Ash nodded, his focus unwavering. "Tell me what to do." Under Cynthia's guidance, they worked together to deactivate the altar. The machinery groaned and sputtered, the energy flow becoming more erratic. The ground shook beneath them, cracks forming in the stone floor as the chamber began to destabilize. "We're running out of time," Cynthia shouted, her eyes wide with urgency. "We need to get out of here." With the altar disabled, they turned and ran, their Pokémon following close behind. The chamber was collapsing around them, the ancient structure unable to withstand the disruption of its power source. They raced through the passageway, the sound of crumbling stone and roaring energy echoing behind them. As they emerged into the forest, the ground beneath them heaved, and a deafening roar filled the air. The outpost collapsed in on itself, the ancient machinery imploding in a spectacular display of light and energy. The force of the explosion sent a shockwave through the forest, knocking them off their feet. Ash and Cynthia landed hard, the breath knocked out of them as they hit the ground. For a moment, the world was a blur of noise and light, the aftermath of the explosion reverberating through the air. Slowly, the chaos subsided, leaving only the quiet rustle of the forest and the distant calls of wild Pokémon. Ash groaned, pushing himself up on one elbow. "Everyone okay?" Pikachu was the first to respond, shaking off the dust and dirt before bounding over to Ash's side. "Pika Pie." Cynthia sat up, wincing slightly as she brushed debris from her clothes. "We're fine. Just a little worse for wear." Their Pokémon gathered around them, each showing signs of weariness but otherwise unharmed. They took a moment to catch their breath, the adrenaline slowly fading from their systems. The forest was eerily quiet, the only sound the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze. Ash looked over at Cynthia, a relieved smile spreading across his face. "We did it. We really did it." Cynthia nodded, her eyes shining with a mixture of relief and exhaustion. "Yes, we did. But we couldn't have done it without each other." Ash moved closer to her, a soft smile on his face. "We make a pretty good team, don't we?" Cynthia returned his smile, her eyes reflecting the warmth and affection she felt. "The best. I wouldn't want anyone else by my side." Their hands found each other, fingers entwining naturally. The connection between them felt stronger than ever, a bond forged in the fires of battle and tempered by mutual respect and growing affection. The aftermath of the outpost's collapse left the forest around them quiet and serene, a stark contrast to the chaos they had just escaped. They took a moment to rest, their Pokémon settling down around them, each one recovering from the intense battle. The sun was beginning its descent, casting long shadows through the trees and painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. As the evening deepened, Ash and Cynthia decided to make camp in a small, sheltered clearing nearby. They set up their tent and laid out their sleeping bags, the familiar routine bringing a sense of normalcy after the day's harrowing events. The fire they built crackled warmly, casting a comforting glow over their small encampment. They sat side by side, the firelight dancing in their eyes as they shared a meal of simple campfire food. The quiet moments between them were filled with an easy companionship, their conversation drifting naturally from topic to topic. "What do you think the Syndicate was trying to do with that altar?" Ash asked, his brow furrowed in thought. It seemed like they were trying to harness some kind of ancient power. Cynthia nodded, her gaze thoughtful as she stared into the flames. "It's hard to say for sure, but whatever it was dangerous. Ancient power like that is unpredictable, and the Syndicate clearly didn't understand the full extent of what they were dealing with." Ash leaned back, his gaze lifting to the star-studded sky above. "I guess that's why it's so important to protect these places. There's so much we don't know about them, and if they fall into the wrong hands." Cynthia reached over, her hand resting on his arm. "That's why we do what we do. To keep people safe and to protect the world from those who would misuse its power." Ash turned to her, a smile touching his lips. "And I'm glad we're doing it together. I couldn't have asked for a better partner." Cynthia's eyes softened, her expression warm. "Me too, Ash. We've faced so much together, and I know we can handle whatever comes next." The night deepened around them, the fire crackling softly as they talked late into the evening. Their conversations flowed easily, touching on their past adventures, their hopes for the future, and the unspoken connection that had grown between them. As the fire burned low, they settled into their sleeping bags, the quiet sounds of the forest lulling them to sleep. The next morning, they awoke to the first light of dawn filtering through the trees. The events of the previous day seemed like a distant memory, but the sense of accomplishment and determination lingered. They broke camp quickly, eager to continue their journey and to stay one step ahead of the Syndicate. Their path led them through the heart of the wild area, a vast and untamed region filled with wild Pokémon and hidden dangers. The landscape was a breathtaking mix of dense forests, rolling hills, and expansive plains, each new vista revealing the untamed beauty of the natural world. As they traveled, their bond continued to grow, each challenge and obstacle bringing them closer together. They faced wild Pokémon and treacherous terrain with a united front, their teamwork seamless and their trust in each other unwavering. One afternoon, as they trekked through a particularly dense forest, they came across a group of travelers who were clearly in distress. Their wagon was stuck in the mud, and their Pokémon were struggling to pull it free. Ash and Cynthia immediately offered their assistance, their Pokémon lending their strength to help the travelers. "Thank you so much," one of the travelers said, his face lined with worry but grateful. "We've been stuck here for hours." Cynthia smiled reassuringly. "It's no trouble at all. We're happy to help." With their combined efforts, they managed to free the wagon, and the travelers continued on their way, their expressions filled with relief and gratitude. Ash and Cynthia watched them go, a sense of satisfaction and purpose filling their hearts. "We're making a difference," Ash said, his voice filled with quiet pride. "It's moments like these that remind me why we do this." Cynthia nodded, her eyes bright with shared purpose. "Every person we help, every threat we stop, it all adds up, and we're stronger because we're doing it together." Their journey continued, each day bringing new challenges and adventures. They navigated treacherous mountain passes, crossed wide rivers, and explored ancient ruins, their path guided by the ever-present threat of the Syndicate and their own unyielding determination to protect the world. One evening, as they set up camp on the edge of a wide, tranquil lake, Ash and Cynthia found themselves reflecting on their journey so far. The lake's surface shimmered in the moonlight, the gentle lapping of the water creating a soothing backdrop to their conversation. "We've come a long way," Ash said, his gaze fixed on the moonlit water. "It feels like we've been through so much together." Cynthia's smile was soft and fond. "We have. And we've grown because of it. I've learned so much from you, Ash." Your strength, your courage, your kindness. It's inspired me in ways I never expected." Ash turned to her, his eyes filled with gratitude and affection. "I've learned from you too, Cynthia. Your wisdom, your calm under pressure, your unwavering determination. It's made me a better trainer and a better person." Their hands found each other, a silent affirmation of the bond they shared. The moonlight cast a gentle glow over their faces, their connection deepening with each passing moment. "Whatever the future holds," Ash said softly, "I know we can face it together. We've proven that we're stronger as a team." Cynthia's eyes shone with emotion, her voice a tender whisper, "Together, always." Their lips met in a kiss that was both tender and passionate, a culmination of their shared journey and the unspoken feelings that had grown between them. The world around them seemed to fade away, leaving only the warmth of their embrace and the promise of the future they would face together. As they pulled back, their foreheads touching, Ash's voice was a murmur in the moonlit night. "Here's to the next adventure." Cynthia's smile was radiant, her eyes filled with love and hope. "To the next adventure." The night passed in a blur of shared moments and quiet conversation, their hearts full of anticipation for the journey ahead. As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, Ash and Cynthia stood side by side, ready to face whatever challenges lay in their path with the strength and unity they had forged together. Their journey was far from over, but they knew that with each other, they could overcome any obstacle and protect the world they loved. Their bond was a testament to the power of partnership and the unbreakable connection they had forged through every battle and trial. And as they set out once more into the wild unknown, they did so with the knowledge that together, they were unstoppable. The early morning sun cast a golden hue over the landscape as Ash and Cynthia stood at the edge of the wild area, the vast expanse behind them a testament to their journey. The wild area, once a place of mystery and danger, now felt like a chapter that had been written and closed. They were heading back to Winden, the heart of Galar, where they would debrief and plan their next steps. The Syndicate's defeat had left a mark on both of them, not just physically but emotionally. The battles had forged a deeper bond between them, one that was now evident in the way they moved and spoke to each other. As they walked side by side, their hands occasionally brushed, a silent but powerful connection lingering between them. "We should report to Leon first," Cynthia suggested, her eyes scanning the path ahead. "He'll want to know that the Syndicate is no longer a threat." Ash nodded, his gaze thoughtful. "Yeah, and I think Professor Magnolia will be interested in what we found at that last outpost. The ancient machinery, the altar, it's all pretty significant." Their Pokémon, ever vigilant, moved around them, occasionally darting off to explore before returning to their trainers' sides. Pikachu scampered up Ash's shoulder, his eyes bright with curiosity as he looked around. Lucario walked close to Cynthia, his senses alert to any lingering dangers. Winden came into view, its tall buildings and bustling streets a stark contrast to the wild, untamed beauty of the area they had just left. The city was alive with energy, the people unaware of the battles that had been fought on their behalf. It felt surreal to Ash and Cynthia, a reminder of the dual lives they led as both protectors and everyday individuals. Leon met them at the Winden Stadium, his expression a mix of relief and admiration. "You did it," he said, clapping Ash on the back. "The reports have been coming in. The Syndicate's operations are falling apart without their leaders. You've done Galar a great service." Cynthia smiled, though her eyes held a hint of weariness. "We couldn't have done it without everyone's support. This was a team effort." They spent the afternoon debriefing with Leon and the other champions who had gathered in Winden, detailing their encounters and the challenges they faced. As they recounted their journey, the gravity of what they had accomplished began to sink in. The Syndicate, a threat that had loomed over the region, was no more. After the meeting, Ash and Cynthia found themselves alone on the rooftop garden of the stadium, the city sprawled out below them. The setting sun bathed the buildings in a warm glow, casting long shadows across the landscape. It was a moment of peace, a rare pause in their otherwise tumultuous lives. "It's strange," Ash said, leaning on the railing. "All this time, we've been so focused on stopping the Syndicate. Now that it's over, I'm not sure what comes next." Cynthia joined him at the railing, her gaze thoughtful. "We've been fighting for so long, it's hard to think about anything else. But there's a whole world out there, Ash. So many places we haven't explored, so many challenges we haven't faced." He turned to her, a smile tugging at his lips. "I guess that means we've got some planning to do. Where do you want to go next? She laughed softly, a sound that was both light and full of promise. Anywhere, as long as it's with you. They stood in companionable silence for a while, the city's lights beginning to twinkle as dusk settled in. The future stretched out before them, a blank canvas waiting to be filled with new adventures and discoveries. The bond they had forged in the fires of battle would guide them, no matter where their path led. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Ash and Cynthia were honored in a grand ceremony in Winden, their contributions recognized by the leaders of the Pokemon League and the people of Galar. It was a celebration of their victory and a tribute to their courage and determination. The ceremony was held in the Winden Stadium, packed with cheering crowds and media from across the region. Ash, usually so comfortable in the spotlight of Pokemon battles, felt a different kind of nervousness as he stood on the stage beside Cynthia. The cheers of the crowd were overwhelming, a wave of appreciation that made his heart swell with pride. Leon stepped forward to address the crowd, his voice carrying easily over the noise. Today, we celebrate the bravery of two remarkable trainers. Ash Ketchum and Cynthia Sharona have shown us what it means to be true champions. They have faced dangers and challenges beyond what any of us could imagine, and they have emerged victorious. Their actions have made Galar a safer place for all of us. The applause was deafening, a sea of faces cheering and waving. Ash glanced at Cynthia, who gave him a warm smile, her eyes shining with pride and affection. He felt a surge of emotion, a mixture of happiness, relief, and a deep sense of connection to the woman standing beside him. As the ceremony concluded, they mingled with the attendees, shaking hands and accepting congratulations. It was a day filled with smiles and laughter, a stark contrast to the intense battles and high-stakes moments they had faced. It was also a day of reflection, a time to acknowledge the journey they had taken and the bond that had grown between them. That evening, they found themselves back at the rooftop garden, the city quiet below them. The stars were bright in the night sky, a reminder of the vast world beyond the city's lights. Ash leaned against the railing, his gaze lifted to the sky. It's hard to believe it's over. I've been on so many journeys, faced so many challenges, but this one feels different. Cynthia joined him, her shoulder brushing against his. It was different. We faced something truly dangerous, and we did it together. That's what made the difference. He turned to her, his eyes reflecting the starlight. I couldn't have done it without you, Cynthia. You've been my partner, my support, and my friend. She smiled, her eyes softening. And you've been mine, Ash. We've faced so much together, and we've come out stronger for it. Their hands found each other, fingers intertwining in a gesture that spoke volumes. The connection between them was palpable, a blend of friendship, respect, and something deeper that had grown with each shared moment. Whatever comes next, Ash said softly, I want to face it with you. Cynthia's gaze held his, a promise shining in her eyes. We will, together. The days turned into weeks, and life in Galar slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy. Ash and Cynthia settled into a routine, dividing their time between helping with the restoration efforts in the wild area and planning their next adventure. The threat of the syndicate had passed, but their desire to explore and discover remained as strong as ever. One afternoon, as they walked through Winden's bustling market, Ash turned to Cynthia with a thoughtful expression. I've been thinking about what you said, about exploring new places. There's so much of the world we haven't seen. I want to do that with you. Cynthia's eyes sparkled with excitement. I'd love that. There are so many regions we haven't visited, so many mysteries to uncover. Where do you want to start? Ash grinned, a sense of anticipation filling him. How about Alola? I've heard so much about its unique Pokemon and beautiful landscapes. Plus, it's a chance to catch up with some old friends. Cynthia's smile widened. Alola sounds perfect. I've always wanted to see the tropical islands and the different cultures. It'll be an adventure unlike any we've had before. Their plans took shape quickly, fueled by their shared enthusiasm and curiosity. They made preparations, gathering supplies and researching the Alola region's diverse environments. The excitement of a new journey brought a fresh energy to their days, a sense of anticipation that made each moment feel vibrant and alive. The night before their departure, they sat together in their Winden apartment, surrounded by maps and travel guides. The apartment had become a temporary home for them, a place filled with memories of their shared battles and victories. Ash looked up from the map he was studying, his eyes filled with warmth as he gazed at Cynthia. I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be an amazing adventure. Cynthia reached over, her hand covering his. It will be. And I'm glad we're doing it together. No matter what we face, I know we can handle it. Their departure from Wyndon was a mix of excitement and bittersweet farewells. They said goodbye to Leon and their friends, promising to stay in touch and share their experiences from Alola. The journey ahead was a new chapter, filled with unknowns and possibilities. As their plane took off, Ash and Cynthia looked out the window, the city of Wyndon growing smaller below them. The sun was just rising, casting a golden light over the landscape and illuminating the path they had chosen. They turned to each other, their expressions reflecting a shared sense of wonder and anticipation. The bond they had forged in the fires of battle and the intimacy of shared moments felt unbreakable. As they soared toward their next adventure, they knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. Their arrival in Alola was greeted with the warmth of tropical air and the vibrant energy of the region's culture. The bustling streets of Hau'oli City, with its colorful markets and friendly locals, were a far cry from the urban sprawl of Wyndon. The city thrummed with life, the scent of tropical flowers mingling with the salty tang of the ocean breeze. Ash's eyes lit up with excitement as they stepped out of the airport. It's even more beautiful than I remembered, he said, turning to Cynthia with a wide grin. I can't wait to show you around. Cynthia took in the sights and sounds of the city, her own excitement mirrored in her expression. It's incredible. I've heard so much about Alola, but seeing it in person is something else entirely. They spent their first day exploring Hau'oli City, marveling at the unique architecture and sampling the local cuisine. The streets were alive with the sounds of people going about their day, the vibrant energy infectious. As they walked along the beach, the waves lapping gently at the shore, they couldn't help but feel a sense of peace and anticipation for the adventures to come. Their base of operations became the Pokémon Center in Hau'oli City, where they met with Professor Kukui, a renowned Pokémon researcher who had been expecting them. Kukui welcomed them with open arms, his enthusiasm for their visit evident in his wide grin and animated gestures. Ash, it's been too long, Kukui exclaimed, clapping Ash on the back. And Cynthia, it's an honor to finally meet you in person. I've heard so much about your exploits. Cynthia smiled warmly. Thank you, Professor. We're excited to be here and to explore everything Alola has to offer. Kukui wasted no time in showing them around his lab, introducing them to his team of researchers and explaining the various projects they were working on. The lab was a hub of activity, filled with cutting-edge technology and curious Pokémon. Ash and Cynthia were particularly interested in Kukui's studies on the unique Pokémon of Alola, especially the regional variants and the mysterious Ultra Beasts. The Ultra Beasts are fascinating, Kukui explained, his eyes gleaming with excitement. They're unlike any Pokémon we've ever seen, and they come from another dimension entirely. Studying them has been a challenge, but we're learning more every day. Ash's curiosity was piqued. I've heard stories about the Ultra Beasts. Do you think we might encounter one while we're here? Kukui nodded. It's possible. The Ultra wormholes that brought them here are unpredictable, but we've had several sightings in recent months. If you're up for it, I'd love to have your help in studying them. Cynthia exchanged a glance with Ash, her expression thoughtful. It sounds intriguing. We'd be happy to assist however we can. Their days in Alola quickly became a blend of exploration and research. They traveled to various islands, each with its unique environment and Pokémon. From the lush jungles of Mele Mele Island to the volcanic landscapes of Akala Island, they immersed themselves in the region's rich biodiversity. One of their most memorable excursions was to Lush Jungle, a dense, verdant forest teeming with exotic Pokémon and vibrant plant life. As they navigated the winding trails, they marveled at the towering trees and the myriad of sounds that filled the air. This place is amazing, Ash said, his voice hushed with awe. It's like a living, breathing Pokémon sanctuary. Cynthia nodded, her gaze fixed on a pair of Lurantis that were darting through the underbrush. The diversity here is incredible. It's a reminder of how much there is to discover in the world of Pokémon. Their research led them to many unexpected encounters, including a particularly intense battle with a wild Guzzlord, one of the Ultra Beasts. The battle tested their skills and teamwork, but they emerged victorious, their bond stronger than ever. The encounter left them with a deep sense of respect for the power and mystery of the Ultra Beasts and a renewed determination to protect the natural world from any threats. Their adventures in Alola also brought them closer to the region's culture and traditions. They participated in several island trials, guided by the local kahunas and trial captains. These trials tested their abilities in ways that were both challenging and rewarding, pushing them to adapt and grow as trainers. One such trial took them to the heart of Wella Volcano Park, where they faced off against the formidable Totem Salazzle. The intense heat and rugged terrain added an extra layer of difficulty to the battle, but Ash and Cynthia's strategic prowess and unyielding spirit saw them through. As they emerged victorious, the kahuna, Kiave, approached them with a respectful nod. "You've both shown incredible skill and determination. It's clear that you have a deep bond with your Pokémon." Cynthia smiled, her eyes reflecting the fiery landscape. "Thank you, Kiave. The trials have been an incredible experience, and we're honored to have taken part in them." Their days in Alola were filled with discovery and connection, not only with the Pokémon and people but also with each other. Each shared challenge and triumph deepened their bond, turning their partnership into something more profound. The quiet moments they spent together, whether watching the sunset over the ocean or sharing stories by the campfire, were filled with a growing sense of love and commitment. One evening, as they sat on the beach watching the waves crash against the shore, Ash turned to Cynthia with a thoughtful expression. "I've been thinking a lot about our journey, everything we've been through together." Cynthia's gaze softened, her eyes reflecting the fading light of the sunset. "So have I. It's been an incredible experience, and I wouldn't have wanted to share it with anyone else." Ash reached over, taking her hand in his. "I feel the same way. We've faced so much together, and I feel like we're just getting started. I want to keep exploring, keep discovering, with you." Cynthia's smile was warm, her hand squeezing his gently. "I'd love that. Wherever we go, whatever we face, I know we can handle it together." Their journey in Alola came to a close with a sense of fulfillment and anticipation for what lay ahead. They had forged new connections, discovered new Pokémon, and deepened their relationship in ways that neither had anticipated. As they prepared to leave the tropical paradise, they felt a sense of excitement for the future and the adventures that awaited them. Back in Winden, they were greeted with open arms by their friends and colleagues. The stories of their adventures in Alola were met with enthusiasm and admiration, and they found themselves once again immersed in the vibrant life of the city. Their return also marked a new chapter in their relationship. The bond they had forged in the trials of battle and the intimacy of shared experiences had grown into something profound and enduring. They moved into a shared apartment in Winden, their days filled with the routine of everyday life but enriched by the deep connection they shared. One evening, as they sat on the balcony of their apartment, watching the city lights twinkle below, Ash turned to Cynthia with a serious expression. "I've been thinking a lot about the future, about us." Cynthia's eyes met his, her expression both curious and tender. "What about us?" He took a deep breath, his hand finding hers. "I want us to keep doing what we do, exploring, protecting, discovering. But I also want more. I want to build a life together, something lasting and real." Cynthia's smile was soft and filled with emotion. "I feel the same way. Our journey has been incredible, but it's only the beginning. I want to share my life with you, Ash. Whatever the future holds, I want to face it together." Their kiss was a promise, a silent vow to face the future as partners in every sense of the word. The city below continued to buzz with life, but in that moment, their world was filled with the quiet certainty of their shared love and the adventures yet to come. The next few months saw Ash and Cynthia settling into a new rhythm, balancing their responsibilities with their shared passion for discovery. They continued their work with the Pokémon League, traveling to various regions to assist with research and to participate in competitions. Their days were filled with the excitement of new challenges and the comfort of their growing relationship. One of their most memorable journeys took them to the Sinnoh region, where they revisited Cynthia's childhood home and explored the ancient ruins that dotted the landscape. The visit was a blend of nostalgia and discovery, deepening their connection to each other and to the world they were so passionate about. As they stood atop Mount Coronet, looking out over the sprawling landscape below, Ash turned to Cynthia with a smile. "This place is incredible. I can see why you love it so much." Cynthia's gaze was soft, her eyes filled with memories. "It's where I learned to love Pokémon and where I started my journey. Being here with you makes it even more special." Their days in Sinnoh were filled with exploration and discovery, from the ancient temples of Celestic Town to the bustling streets of Jubilife City. Each new experience brought them closer, their bond growing with each shared moment. Their journey eventually led them back to Winden, where they continued to build their life together. Their apartment became a haven, filled with the warmth of their shared experiences and the promise of the future. They decorated the space with mementos from their travels, each item a reminder of the adventures they had shared and the challenges they had overcome together. The walls were adorned with photographs, snapshots of breathtaking landscapes, candid moments with Pokémon they had befriended, and cherished memories of their time in different regions. As they settled into their routine in Winden, Ash and Cynthia found themselves immersed in their work with the Pokémon League. They continued to assist Professor Magnolia and Professor Kukui with their research, lending their expertise to studies on Pokémon behavior, regional variations, and the impact of environmental changes on Pokémon habitats. Their days were a whirlwind of activity, filled with training sessions, research expeditions, and meetings with fellow trainers and researchers. Despite the demands of their work, they always made time for each other, whether it was sharing meals together, going on evening walks through Winden's parks, or simply enjoying quiet moments at home. One evening, as they sat together on their balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink, Cynthia turned to Ash with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever think about the future, Ash? About what comes next for us?" Ash glanced at her, his expression softening. "Yeah, I do. I think about all the places we haven't seen yet, all the Pokémon we haven't met. But more than that, I think about us." Cynthia nodded, her gaze steady. "Me too. We've come so far together, faced so many challenges. I can't imagine my life without you, Ash." He reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. "Cynthia, there's something I've been wanting to ask you, something important." Her eyes widened slightly, a hint of anticipation in her gaze. "What is it?" Taking a deep breath, Ash met her gaze with unwavering sincerity. "Will you marry me?" Cynthia's breath caught in her throat, her heart racing with a mixture of surprise and joy. Tears welled up in her eyes as she nodded, unable to find words in the moment. Ash's smile was bright and filled with love as he reached into his pocket, pulling out a small box. Opening it, he revealed a delicate ring with a sparkling gemstone that caught the fading light of the sunset. "I've wanted to ask you for a long time," Ash said softly. "To share our lives together, to face whatever comes next as partners. Cynthia Sharona, will you marry me?" Unable to speak, Cynthia nodded again, her eyes shining with tears of happiness. Ash slid the ring onto her finger, his touch gentle and reverent. "I love you, Cynthia," he whispered, his voice filled with emotion. "I love you too, Ash," she replied, her voice trembling with emotion. They held each other close, the sunset casting a warm glow around them. In that moment, as the city bustled below and the world continued to turn, Ash and Cynthia knew that their journey together was just beginning. The end. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Now we will see you in the next video.